the clandestine strikes by Cyprus on Iran. Not sure if you heard. according to channel 12. No, but on a serious note, though, there was a report by. So we've been talking about the UAE striking Iran for a while. There was a report by the Wall Street Journal, Washington Post yesterday that they did. There's now two sources that said they did, and then today Bloomberg said that they were attacking Iran before and after the ceasefire. That's the UAE, and hours later we also got another report that Saudi was also part of the attacks on the UAE on Iran. So now we've got reports that as always as retaliation, when they get struck, they strike back. So now we've got reports that two Gulf countries attacked Iran. And that all comes in the midst of the negotiations seemingly falling apart right now. Iran's asking for the lifting of sanctions, the unfreezing of assets, reparations, without any concessions on the nuclear program, as well as control of the Strait of Hormuz. And Trump is heading to China. So a lot of moving pieces, none of them in the direction of peace.
A lot of moving pieces and nothing moving at all, to be quite honest.
Yeah, that's a better way, another way of putting it.
I mean, look. I mean, Iran's terms haven't changed effectively, have they? Not really. I mean, these are pretty much the same terms that they've been putting out there.
But I thought at the beginning they'd concede on the nuclear program. Now they're saying they won't even concede on that.
Look, the nuclear program is theater, and I think everyone understands that, right? It's all theater. The whole nuclear program. That's not what any of this is about. If this was about the nuclear program, there would have never been a war. This would have been resolved very easily many months ago, many years ago. It was resolved many years ago by the JCPOA. It was resolved. And once again, as we've always been saying, Hormuz was open and free, and there were no problems. So Trump has reverted to the whole nuclear uranium issue. Iran is saying that okay, the nuclear is non-negotiable. They've been saying that for a while now as well. But it has nothing to do with uranium enrichment or the nuclear issue. I think everyone understands that. I think the only reason that Trump goes on and on about the uranium and nuclear issue is because they tried all kinds of other reasons as to why they're at war with Iran, and nothing stuck. They ran with the protesters. They ran with the ballistic shield. They ran with 47 years of being angry with the United States. They tried all kinds of stuff, and nothing really managed to.
The Trump assassination attempt.
The assassin, which was BS, everyone. I mean, the whole thing. Iran tried to assassinate me. Yeah. So now they're back to the uranium, and we already know that the uranium was resolved even by Oman. Even the Omani mediator said that they pretty much had the uranium issue resolved. So I mean, okay, that's where we are. It's like a lot of movement, but really no movement. The interesting story is the UAE, Saudi Arabia. I think that's kind of interesting. I mean, they're being pulled into this war. They are part of this war, and they're getting, with each passing week, they're getting sucked into this war more and more. Now you have the media talking about how they attacked Iran. So all of their complaining and saying, why did Iran attack us? We didn't do anything. Now you have these articles which are
I want to defend them. They retaliated against Iran, so they're doing it as deterrence.
Okay, they retaliated.
But then you can go back to the fact that American bases in their countries were being used for the strikes against Iran.
I mean, look, the bottom line with the Gulf countries is that they're acting no differently than the European countries vis-a-vis Russia and then the whole Ukraine war. They're acting no differently. Just like Europe got sucked into the war, actually decided on their own to be part of the war, to join Biden in what they thought was going to be a 3-month regime change operation. That's what they thought. That's what they all bought into. That's what Biden and his team sold them on. They all went along with it when they could have told Biden, no, we don't want any part of this. This is a dumb idea. This is stupid. Don't do it. The Gulf countries appear to have gone the same exact route. It's going to be a 2-day regime change. We'll decapitate the leadership. On Friday, we'll start. On Sunday, it'll be over. By Monday, everything will be cool. They all went along with it. They all believed in Trump. They all believed in Netanyahu because Netanyahu was the one whispering to Trump. So they all bought into it. They all went along with it. They gave their airspace. They gave their military bases. They did whatever the United States told them to do when they should have been telling Trump, no, don't do it. This is a dumb idea. When Iran says they're going to close the Strait of Hormuz, they mean it. We're not with you on this. They didn't do any of that. They went along with it. And even today, they should be telling Trump, no.
Yeah.
Enough of this.
Yeah. Well, Saudi did it with the airspace. At least no, I take it back. Saudi did it in the airspace. No, not they reverted. Sorry, I take it back. It's the complete opposite. They did it because Trump did not retaliate against the strike on the UAE. So they're like, hey, we're going to close our airspace until you retaliate against the Iranian attack on the UAE, and then we'll reopen it. And then when Trump agreed to strike the Iran, then they reopened it. So it's the complete opposite of what you're saying. By the way, just now came in, as you're speaking, Iraq and Pakistan. So you know how Iran has already created a website, did an agreement, sent an email to all the shipping companies about the control of the Strait of Hormuz. They came up with nice branding for it, I guess. Iraq and Pakistan have already cut energy deals with Iran to secure passage of oil and LNG through the Strait of Hormuz. So Iraq secured a safe passage for two VLCCs, around 2 million barrels each, to protect budget revenue, while Pakistan secured 2 Qatari LNG tankers to meet summer electricity demand. Iran is formalizing control by requiring detailed vessel documentation and supervision transit with its naval forces. Hormuz traffic has collapsed, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, already there's countries doing a deal with Iran on the Persian Gulf Straits. Sorry, because legally that should be in the agreement. Persian Gulf Straits, while the back and forth is going on with negotiations. So, in other words, Iran doesn't mind the status quo.
Well, they've got their branding on point. Right. They've got the website, they got the name of all of this. Yeah. I mean, they're allowing the passage under their terms. The problem now is that you have Trump blockading Iran. So you have that issue now. Trump made things even more complicated on himself. So, you have to lift the Trump blockade of Iran, and then you can also deal with Hormuz.
Do you worry there's a possibility this could, first, before we talk about whether this could become a regional war, because we've been talking about the risks of a regional war since October 7th, some people before, but since October 7th, really. And now it's becoming as real, the realest it's ever been. But first, do you think Trump is more likely to walk away, or he's going to get dragged in and have to get involved militarily again? And what would that look like?
Well, look, the neocons are pushing for Trump to get more involved. Netanyahu's interview on 60 Minutes was very clear. This war is not over. So he was crystal clear about everything that he wants to have happen with Iran and with the war. But by the way, Netanyahu did not look well in that interview. Health-wise, didn't look well in that 60 Minutes CBS interview.
It was.
Yeah. So you have these two very powerful forces, or this one, depending on how you want to look at it, a very powerful force which is pushing Trump in a certain direction. You had the article from Kagan in the Atlantic.
I saw that. That's a big one.
An extremely important article, and I think a lot of people are misinterpreting it. Yes, Kagan said checkmate on the United States. Yes, Kagan wrote that Trump has no good options, and perhaps his best option is to walk away because he doesn't have a path to victory, with the exception of one path that he may have that isn't even guaranteed. And I think that's the real essence of this article, not Kagan telling Trump he's been checkmated by Iran, not Kagan saying that an Iran victory changes everything for the United States, changes everything for Israel, for the Middle East, for the entire region, which Kagan got into in his article. The main point of his article was to put all of this out there, checkmated by Iran, everything's going to change, we've lost, Trump messed up, whatever, his best option is to walk away. But then he talks about the one thing that may save Trump in the United States, and that is escalation and some sort of a ground operation. And the important part, the United States needs to prepare for heavy losses, for big losses. Trump needs to stomach it. Go with the ground operation. There's going to be a lot of losses, but that may be the one thing that that gives you the victory and prevents this disaster of an Iran checkmate, an Iran win. And when Kagan writes something like that, then you know the neocons are already putting this out to the think tanks. They're already putting this out to everyone in and around Trump. Trump has a lot of neocons in his administration, so you know they're telling Trump, escalate more, ground operation. Mr. President, we know that you prefer quick knockouts. You know that you prefer big victories without much damage or casualties or stuff like that. But it's time for you to seriously consider a ground operation and to understand that we're going to take heavy losses in this ground operation. That was the message of the Kagan article.
I didn't know that was
the message. No, that was it. It's not wrong. It's one paragraph. It's one paragraph in the middle of the article, but that's the point of it. That's the point of that Atlantic article. And you know that this is what they're talking about with Trump, and Axios and some other outlets even confirmed that point. They ran with the title, with the headline that Trump is now considering military operations.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that.
But we have China, Mario. So we have China. So we have 2 days to wait and see what happens with Trump in China, and that will probably give us some more insight as to where we're going.
Trump said something interesting about China. He was asked about it. I should have recorded the quote, but he said, "Us and China are the only two superpowers."
Mm-hmm.
There it is. We and China are the two superpowers of the world. Let me see the statement. I'll send you the link, Lee, so you can play it. Yeah. But I think this is the main part.
I know the quote you're talking about. Yeah.
Oh, okay, exactly. Yeah, he said that today. So, but that's a good sign, no? Is that him? Is that him slowly admitting that we do live in a multipolar world, accepting that?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, honestly, I don't think we should dissect what Trump says anymore in too much detail. To be quite he may say now, when this stream is done, Mario, he may say that the United States is the only superpower by the time the stream is over. So I mean,
and then by tomorrow, Iran is the only superpower because he's close to it.
Yeah, exactly. We've obliterated their navy and their army.
So what do you expect to happen? What do you expect to happen in China?
Well, we'll see. We'll see. You know, Trump's been wanting this meeting. He's been wanting this meeting for a while now. No doubt, Iran is going to be top of the agenda. They're going to talk about, obviously, they're going to talk about Taiwan. I'm sure they're going to talk about Russia, about energy, about oil, about the United States blockading China. They're going to talk about sanctions, trade, tariffs, all these things. But Iran's going to be front and center, I think. We may not get statements, especially from China, where they say that we discussed X, Y, and Z about Iran. But we know that China has publicly made very strong statements in support of Iran. I mean, they've come out very strongly in support of Iran. So we'll see. And we know that Arachi was also in China just last week, right? Yeah. So we'll wait for 2 days and see what comes out of this.
Apparently, by the way, Mujtaba is still making the decisions according to Israeli intelligence. So, you know, there were doubts before whether he's actually, you know, he still holds power, etc. And another in the same report, they're saying he's the reason for the deadlock in the negotiations or the lack of concessions on the Iranian side. I don't know if the China meeting has something to do with it, because the statements coming out of Iran, I understand they were like this at the beginning. I know, you know how you said the statement, their position has remained the same throughout, and that's true. But like, you'd expect their position at the beginning, when the ceasefire is first signed, to be a maximalist position, because they want to start the negotiations in a position of power and then slowly concede until you meet in the middle. You know, both sides start there, knowing that they're going to meet somewhere in the middle there. But what's happening in Iran is, I feel, I said this earlier, if the audience was watching me earlier, and I said that I feel like the US is kind of slowly conceding more and more. No ballistic missile program, no proxy network, no total surrender. And then the Iran is either standing there or adding a bit here and there. Now there's reports about them wanting to charge cable companies for using the Strait of Hormuz. So my concern is that we're going in the opposite directions rather than meeting halfway, or at least Iran is going in the opposite direction. And I don't know if the meeting with China had a role to play in it. China offered
I don't know
unconditional support or something.
Can you elaborate on what exactly the U.S. concessions have been? What are the big concessions that they're making? They're blockading the country, right?
True.
They weren't blockading
one,
the country in the beginning, but now they're blockading the country, and they're also effectively trying to put a blockade on China as well, right?
It's more the concessions with their demands. I think he's not asking for the total surrender or dismantling of the proxy network or the ballistic missile program. These are things that Israel want to see, and Trump is not even talking about it. Now he's like, hey, just let me get some nuclear deal and that's it. Even the Strait of Hormuz, he was open to sharing a percentage out of it. It's like the blockade is a way to pressure Iran because Iran's not conceding. But I think Trump he wants this to end so badly, he's happy to concede more than Iran is. Not saying Iran doesn't have the right to ask for a lot. No. Maybe it's the right decision, but
no, I don't know. I think the United States has taken a maximalist position as well. I haven't seen anything that says that they've made concessions. I don't know. They put out the 14-point plan that they put out there. It was maximalist, right? And Iran responded with their 10-point response, which Trump rejected. I think both sides are far apart, and I think both sides are maximalist at this point. I haven't seen either of the sides kind of make a move towards each other.
Do you really think we'll see a ground operation like this guy Keegan said?
I don't know. Look,
that's pretty hard to imagine.
Trump is on the escalation escalator, and it's hard to get off the escalator. It's very difficult to get off it.
I was speaking to Pape earlier. He said there's like two scenarios. One of them is three scenarios. One of them is a negotiated solution. He said it's almost impossible now. Either the only two scenarios that are looking possible or likely. One is walking away, and Iran becomes a new hegemon in the world, in the region at least, and a global superpower eventually. So that will accelerate a multipolar world. And option number two is go back to heavily bombing Iran, but this time Iran will retaliate very differently, and it could even lead the escalation ladder. They could be the one that would be escalating. For example, if there's a decapitation strike against Iran, Iran may try to conduct a similar strike against Gulf leaders. That was what Pape said, which surprised me, and even try to kill Trump. And similar to how we saw, so Operation Freedom might have given us a small peek into how Iran is going to be acting if the war continues. And it's not a good peek, because in Operation Freedom, the US tried to escort 2 ships. Iran just went haywire. They struck 4 ships, and they struck Fujairah. So it shows that Iran now is doing the opposite. Instead of them waiting to be struck and responding, that they might be in a position where they feel comfortable, being escalation dominance. I think it's called escalation dominance, the dominant one there when it comes to escalations. So that would be a very different war to what we saw earlier.
Well, I think Project Freedom, it was a type of bait and switch. I don't think it was about escorting. Well, it wasn't about escorting ships, guiding ships through the Strait of Hormuz. I don't think it was anything even remotely close to that. I think that Project Freedom was just a way to rebrand from Epic Fury, Operation Epic Fury. You also had the whole 60-day Congress thing. You had all of these things with Epic Fury. Didn't go well, and I think it was just a way to rebrand and
even look how Iran responded. But look at Iran; they're very different now. They feel like they've got a lot more leverage, and they're using it.
Well, they do have leverage.
They
Absolutely.
do, of course.
Rubio and the United States, they keep on saying they have no cards. They have no cards. Well, you can keep on saying that, but they have one gigantic card. And that is Hormuz. And the other card that they have is that they do have weapons. They do have the missiles and the drones. And they were telling us for 60 days that they've been completely destroyed, right? I mean, what was the narrative the first couple of weeks? They have no more launchers. They have no more missiles. And then we're getting reports. Well, they have about 25% of their launch. They have about 50%. Well, they have about 75%. Then Arachi last week, he posted a message on X, and he said, we've got about 120%. Right? I mean,
yes, also, yeah, because he claims they built more throughout the war.
Yeah, I mean, we understand his message. We get his message, and we get his point.
He's just trolling them. He's trolling the Americans.
Yeah, we get his point in all of this. So So that I think Project Freedom was just a way for Trump to kind of divert and rebrand, and I think he wanted to launch some sort of a military operation into Hormuz. I think he wanted that with Project Freedom. Then you had the whole Saudi thing, and it kind of derailed the momentum of it all. And so that's where we are right now. Now he has his trip to China. And this is where we are at the moment. And we have to wait and see what China is going to tell him and what he's going to tell China, right? Because China is important in all of this. Because China is a part of this conflict in a way, an indirect part. But a lot of what is being done in Iran ultimately is about China, just like a lot of what is being done in Russia is also ultimately about China. A lot of what happened in Venezuela. Absolutely.
How's Russia linked to China? I haven't looked into that one. I know Venezuela.
Well, I mean, Russia's linked to China. Obviously, it's linked to China from.
I mean, how's the Iran? You mean the
well, you destroy Russia, you regime change Russia, and you've got China isolated.
Wow,
that was the initial plan.
But that sounds stupid. If you want to isolate China, you'd want to get Russia closer to NATO and Europe, not get into a war with them.
Well, they don't want Russia closer to NATO and Europe. They never have wanted Russia into NATO.
But that's the way. But that's the way to target. But that's the way to weaken China. The weaken China before the war.
But that's not what they want. We know that from the Clinton era. I mean, that's already been floated out to the United States and to the West. Yeah, Russia integrating more into Europe, Russia integrating into NATO, and they've already rejected that. They want dominance. They don't want cooperation. They want dominance.
What do you make?
Yeah.
What do you make of talking about Russia? There's a report today. I don't know much about this. They've successfully test launched the Satan II.
Sarmat.
The Sarmat ICBM.
Nope. No one has weapons like Russia. No one has the missiles and the weapons that Russia
has. Significant? No is that a significant one? The Satan II.
My understanding of it, listening to Alexander explain it, it can hit anywhere in the world. Anywhere, you name it, it can hit it. And nothing can stop it. I mean, this is my understanding of the weapon.
Nuclear capable, heavy, ICBM designated to carry multiple nuclear warheads and developed to replace the Soviet-era R6 system.
My understanding is that
the missile has an extremely long range and can approach targets via unconventional flight paths, including routes over the South Pole. Jesus. Yep. Great. Also,
for them to talk about this and to announce it in this way is significant. Once again, Trump and the other administrations, a lot of administrations, they tore up a lot of the nuclear treaties one by one. They tore them all up. The United States did that. They tore them all up, and Russia kept on saying, "Don't tear it up. Let's renegotiate them. Don't go this route." But they went this route. And for Putin to announce this is significant because Putin has been the moderating force. He's been the moderate in all of this. And he is shifting to a hardline position. And this is a huge, huge mistake, a huge strategic error on the West's part, because Putin was keeping things under wraps. He was keeping things balanced. But you can see his frustration. You can see that he's done with all of this.
There's do you know who Ilya Remelo is? So this is apparently a lawyer, a notable lawyer that's very close to the Kremlin, who put out a statement criticizing Putin, saying he has no legitimate, criticizing the war. Trying to find him, criticizing the war, etc. Now this is another piece by Warfronts talking about how there's Putin's really worried about Ilya Remelo. I think this is it. But anyway, so talks about, this is a title here, heading, Putin fears an assassination attempt and a coup. Tensions among security services are rising, according to EU intelligence agency. Now, I know I've seen those reports a lot, so I'm dismissing that. But
it's just nonsense.
Is there resistance within Russia at all? Is there exhaustion from the war or no?
I don't think there's resistance, right? I think there's discussion. I think there is discussion, and I think the discussion revolves around what they tried to accomplish with Trump, and how a lot of it has failed. And I think there's a lot of anger and frustration with I wouldn't say frustration, just anger and being tired with the Europeans. They want nothing to do with the Europeans. They tried with Trump, and Putin tried with Trump, and Putin did spend political capital speaking with Trump and negotiating with Trump, and it didn't result in anything. The United States is still the main sponsor of this conflict. Whatever Trump says is not accurate. We're selling the war weapons, not giving them. Okay, fine, you're selling them, but at the end of the day, you're still backing the conflict. You're still backing the Europeans, even if the Europeans say there's some sort of split. The United States is still behind them. And so I think they made an effort with Trump. And to Trump's credit, he did something that Biden did not do, which is he actually talked to Russia, where Biden just froze Russia out for 4 years. So Trump actually did speak with Putin, and continues. They continue to have dialogue with Russia, and that's to his credit. But when we did have some sort of an understanding for a way out of the war in Ukraine, in Alaska, once again, it was Trump that backtracked on everything. They're just incapable of negotiating. The United States is incapable of striking a deal. You can't negotiate with this administration and with the previous administration, but this administration is agreement incapable.
So this is someone, okay, so not as notable as I thought. His name is, so I'm not surprised you don't know him, Ilya Remezlo. So he's just a Russian blogger, pro-Kremlin blogger, a very vocal supporter of Putin, very critical of Alexei Navalny and others. But he put out a post that apparently went viral saying Putin is not a legitimate president. Putin must resign and be brought to trial as a war criminal and a thief. The country's falling apart. The army isn't advancing in Ukraine, and the war is going nowhere.
Okay. Look,
so he has 90,000 followers.
There's 90,000 followers. There's bloggers that say the same thing about Ukraine. There's bloggers that say the same thing about.
By the way, he's based. I'm surprised. He's saying that he's based in Russia.
Yeah, a lot of people. And that's fine.
I thought when I was in Russia, I spoke to like there are certain red lines. He said, Mario, I spoke to someone who's pretty notable, and off the record, he said there's two things everyone's worried to speak about, to criticize about. One is the Ukraine war, not to go too far, and the other one was back then about Prigozhin. Everyone's worried about supporting Prigozhin after the mutiny. How's it in Russia? What are the red lines from a political rhetoric perspective? What are the things that you might get into trouble if you say? In China, if you talk about the Tiananmen Square massacre, you might get into trouble or get censored. Is there anything similar in Russia?
Look, I think if you do take a certain position about the war, a very vocal position, a position of trying to subvert the government, trying to subvert the activities of the operation, whatever that may mean. I mean, I'm not even sure what organizing a protest or trying to organize some sort of a subversion of the government or of the conflict or of the troops that are fighting, that probably lands you in trouble. I think that would land you in trouble in just about any country that's in a war or in a conflict, though. I mean, I would say the same thing about the United States or Iran as well. I mean, I'm not even quite sure what you would do, what you would need to do in order to have the government go after you in Russia. I don't think I can answer that question. I don't think I've seen anything happen. I see it in Ukraine all the time, though. I see it in Ukraine all the time with Zelensky.
Is he still alive? No, I'm joking. But there is no, in terms of his claims, so I haven't listened to the whole report, but they use that as one of the sources. Is there pushback against Putin? I've been hearing about it for a while, but it's impossible to verify.
There's criticism. I think there's criticism because of his belief that, rightly or wrongly, his belief that he could have gotten some sort of a deal or an understanding with the United States, with the Trump administration. I think there is that criticism or that discussion, but there's no coup fears. There's no There's no fear that he's lost his support or
he doesn't
his
have
power or anything
cancer.
like
He's not going to die next year.
that. The only thing I will say, and it's just an observation, was that 60 Minutes interview. And it's just an I'm not a doctor. I don't know. It's just an observation. I saw Netanyahu look very, very thin. He just didn't look well. Maybe he was ill that day. Maybe he had a bug. I don't know. That was just an observation that I thought was it. Yeah.
Another report here. I haven't read it all yet. Let me quickly read it. Ukraine. So you know how we saw a couple of weeks ago, Ukraine is moving away from dependence on the US to try to form some sort of alliance with Europe in terms of the Russian negotiations. Not sure if you saw that. I'm sure you have, actually. So this is a report here, Political. Ukraine wants Europe to help revive stalled peace efforts with Russia by pursuing a narrow first step, a mutual halt to attacks on each other. Okay, there you go. On each side's airports. What's that about?
Yeah. In the article further down, it says that Ukraine is not in any way looking to move away from the United States. It actually says it in the article. Okay. They just want, you got to go way down towards the bottom of it. They just want Europe to start getting more involved in the process. That's it.
Are you hopeful? What about Putin's? Actually, we haven't spoken about this. What about Putin's comment that got traction? I saw it and I'm like,
misinterpreted. I also made that mistake at first. Misinterpreted. It was actually mistranslated by a TASS reporter. Actually, what Putin meant, what he said actually in the statement, was that Project Ukraine, that started with the West and with the Europeans, using Ukraine as a way to conduct a regime change and a dismemberment of Russia, had failed, had come to an end. Yeah.
Okay, that's the complete opposite of what I was hoping for. That's the
context of his statement. It's the complete opposite. That's the context of the statement. But it wasn't the West. My understanding, it wasn't like Western journalists or anything that misinterpreted it. I mean, to be fair to the Western media.
But is there any good signs coming out of that war that we might see some positive developments? Anything at all?
I think the signs are towards a military solution. I mean, Putin in his statements in the presser that he gave after the 9th of May events, he was very clear that Russia's done with Europe. I mean, they are done with Europe. Europe to them is useless. There's no need to deal with them, and he's finished. But he does leave the door open with the United States. He has created a separation between the United States and Europe. The United States at least has agency. Yes, they are a part of the war. Yes, Putin did say that Russia is fighting NATO. NATO includes the United States, but the United States does have agency, and you can speak with the United States. With Europe, he just considers them just a bunch of vassals with zero sovereignty or agency.
Fucking hell, man. Everything's moving in the wrong direction. Everything's moving in the wrong direction. The Ukraine war, which I've been positive about, I just thought the solution would be easier. So, naive me. It's just dragging on, and your update now is not positive. The Iran war, I've been saying the war is going to end, the war is over, because I thought pragmatism will prevail. And here we are now that look, Trump may still walk away, and then this is, okay, a multipolar world, a reorganization of the balance of power. That's fine. That might also still end up positive. Let's just see. I think this is one of the most consequential meetings in many years. Was going to probably even more consequential than the meeting between Trump and Putin, to be honest. The one.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I agree. Look, things can change quickly too. I mean, things may look bad or bleak now, but maybe Trump and Xi find some common ground. Maybe Trump finds the courage to agree to some sort of deal. Maybe.
Oh man,
I don't think he has that at the moment. I just see too many influences on him, and I see too many powers that are greater than him moving this in a bad direction. He could, as the executive, he could decide, okay, I'm going to start making decisions, and I'm not going to listen to Graham, and I'm not going to listen to Bibi, and I'm not going to listen to these neocons. But that just hasn't been his presidency to date. His presidency has been everybody whispering in his ear, and then these terrible forces that are always on the side of conflict and escalation, always winning out over the more moderate voices. That's been his presidency over the past year, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's just the truth. I mean, I was hoping for more from Trump. I think a lot of people were, but he's just not delivering.
Everyone was hoping Trump would come in as president and end the Ukraine war, the main war that everyone was talking about. He came in as president and created a new war he's trying to end. So
that was easy, and the Ukraine war was easy. That was an easy one for him to end. And we said it many times on our show. He could have just come in on January 22nd and just said, "We're out of this thing." This was Biden's mistake.
Yeah, I know, but I feel bad. I obviously I blame NATO for the war and stuff, but I feel bad for Ukraine, man, losing that territory. I'm in that position. I feel really bad.
How does continuing to fight make it better?
I know exactly.
Territory? No. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's why I'm saying like war is not a solution, but this is where it's tricky because, yeah, it's tricky.
The bottom line with Ukraine is that since 2014, since the West coup, since the Maidan coup, Kagan's wife, Victoria Nuland, interesting, right? Since that coup, Ukraine's position has been getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
And Russia has told them as much. Russia has been straightforward with them. The more you don't want to engage with us and make a deal, the worse your position is going to get. They've been saying this over and over again. And when we have had deals, whether it was Minsk 1 or Minsk 2, or the deal with Boris Johnson, or the deal Istanbul with in 2022 that Boris Johnson sabotaged, which has now been accepted. I mean, everyone is just coming out and confirming.
Oh, really? There's been more confirmations recently?
It's everywhere now. It's everywhere now.
Really?
The bottom line is that Ukraine has had countless opportunities to prevent where we are at the moment, and they should take the deal that's on the table. And I understand where you're coming from. You're going to lose territory, and it's a terrible situation, and all of these things that you're saying on your side from your perspective.
But your counter argument is like, what's the alternative?
What's the alternative?
Exactly. I've always said something. I get a lot of slack for it. I'm like, why waste human lives for moving lines on a map? I know it's a stupid statement, it's oversimplifying, and I get a lot of hate for saying it. But if an alien comes here and they see all this death and destruction, I saw a video I posted, I think, of a Russian soldier. There was a drone coming to kill him. And my team posted and said, the drone was too late because the Russian soldier had a gun holding like this. He already shot himself. He already killed himself. And you're seeing all this footage of Russian soldiers and Ukrainian soldiers suffering. Another one, I think, I think it was North Korean soldier or Ukrainian soldier dragging the body of his friend. It's just so sad to see. And if an alien comes in and says, why are you guys doing this? Oh, they want this territory. We want this territory for this piece of land. It's it'll be bizarre for them.
It's sad to see. It's terrible to see. But the countries that keep on pushing Ukraine to fight don't care about Ukraine.
No.
And they openly say it. What they care about is weakening Russia.
That's obvious, yeah.
So
I'm sorry, Ukraine is a pawn abused by all parties involved, in my opinion.
This is the tragedy to the whole story. So I mean, the Europeans insist on a Russian defeat. Well, you're not going to get a Russian defeat, Europe, especially from Europe. I mean, what's Europe going to defeat? What can Europe do? Europe is about it in its weakest position since I've been alive. I mean, I haven't seen Europe weaker.
Before World War War. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't know if Europe has ever been weaker.
So who are you talking about? A defeat without the United States? You guys are hopeless. You guys are empty. You have nothing. So, I mean, you have this very weak Europe and EU, which continues to push Ukraine to fight. And what are they dangling in front of Ukraine? What do they continue to dangle in front of EU membership? Why do you even want to join the EU at this point? Who wants to join the EU at this point? Right? I mean, if this was 20 years ago, I'd say, okay, it sounds attractive, interesting. But what, you're going to join a group of 27 bankrupt, indebted countries under the authoritarian rule of van der Leyen? I mean, I don't understand. What's the attractive offer? that's being made. But that's what they
Yeah.
keep on dangling in front of Zelensky, in front of the Ukrainians. EU membership, so keep on going, keep on going.
All right, man. Well,
yeah. Look, the bottom
we'll
line
talk
is
again
there is
we'll talk
ways
again
out.
after she.
Yeah, look, yeah, there's ways out of this. I don't think it's going to happen, but we could
she
be surprised.
help us, she.
Yeah, help us, she. And maybe we'll see all the wars.
Exactly.
Maybe we'll see
She solved these 2 wars, and we'll all learn Mandarin.
There could be worse things in life. It's a tough language. It's a tough language. I don't think I can learn.
I tried it in university a few years ago when I was in Australia, but I gave up. It's very hard.
Yeah.
Right,
I've heard some people say it's easy. Actually, I've heard some people make the argument.
They're talking shit. Either they're autistic and very smart, or they're talking shit. I've tried it. I've went to university. I tried it for like a year. Very hard. Very hard.
Well,
Thanks,
anyway,
Alex.
all right. Take care.
See you, bro. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. I always enjoy these chats with Alex. Great guy. Really nice to talk to. You should check out his channel, the Duran. I'm sure a lot of you know about it already. I'll be going live again in 14 minutes with Professor Gibbs, one of your favorites. And then we have Charles Finfrock at the end for the day. Thanks, guys.